New skins, another mecha line, and who knows, maybe even the first official appearance of the Rose Knight. 2026 is already a crazy year for Riot, and it's only January. But no wasting time, let's go check all this out and break it down. Iron Firmament. As you saw in the trailer, this is the name of the new universe and new skin line that dropped on PBE recently. People in the comments on this skin spotlight were hyping it up like crazy, saying that the new Galio skin has to be one of the most beautiful legendary skins ever made, if not flat out the best. People really loved the look, the voice lines, the interactions, and effects. There were even a bunch of references to some mecha anime franchise, and there definitely has to be more than one. Riot loves throwing those kinds of things in there to make jokes about their inspirations after all. In my opinion, the new mecha skin line was made because of how huge the success was with Mecha Kingdoms Darius in 2025. It was basically Riot apologizing for making Triumphant General Darius, which is honestly just a pretty embarrassing skin. The worst part is that it's supposed to be canon, so basically that's who Darius is now. But putting that aside, let's take a look at the lore for this new universe. And I'll say right now, there are some really cool ideas here. The lore says, caught in the thrall of a dying black hole, one world looks to a neighboring galaxy for sanctuary. To navigate the harsh, uncharted depths of space, they send colossal mechs capable of surviving such a journey to find a new home. When none return, a second mission is mounted, both to carve a new foothold and to discover what dangers might await. Pretty sick. Now, let's move on to the only two characters that got the spotlight in this new line. Ornn, an ingenious mech builder, was obviously the choice as a lead engineer for Galio's squad. Solemn and stoic, he shows his dedication through his tireless repairs, brushing off the captain's fruitless attempts to make him laugh. Deep down, Ornn believes their mission will succeed, and when they do, he plans to build himself a home far away from everyone else. And here we already have Galio's lore, where it says that, with his consciousness uploaded into his state-of-the-art mech, Galio led his squadron into the dangers of the neighboring galaxy. But after encountering their Terra mech predecessors, now twisted beyond all recognition, their hope was shaken. It took their captain's steadfast optimism to remind everyone, if anything can preserve, it's the Aegis frames. Now let's go talk about some really interesting parts of the lore, starting with the thing about Galio's world and Ornn being trapped under the control of the dying black hole. I bet my rider Regulus's pin that this has something to do with the Dark Star line. Like I talked about in the video about the new crossover event that's coming involving Star Guardians. The Dark Star and all those who serve it, or were corrupted by it, are spreading through the multiverse. So it would make a lot of sense for them to have something to do with the disappearing Terramechs. And there was also this line from Galio that I thought was interesting.
The Terramechs look different. Did they find something in deep space? Or someone?
We know that the Dark Star corrupts cosmic beings and even mortal beings that made a contract with some entity, but now it's affecting mechanical beings? Okay, yeah, I know the mind is from a human being, but the rest is all synthetic.
Holy Christ, there's nothing left.
So it's basically mechanical. Honestly, I'm curious to know what corrupted the Terramechs. Could it have been the Void in some new version of itself? It wouldn't be that crazy. Remember that in the Star Guardian universe, the Void exists too. The difference is pretty much just the color, making the Void purple a green instead. But then we have another line from Galio that made me think about something different.
Watch out for the Terramechs. They may look like us, but we don't know what's in their heads now.
Who here knows Pacific Rim? Basically, there are kaiju invading Earth and humanity makes mechs to fight them. Anyway, in that second movie, after a frantic fight between two Jaeger, which is the name given to the giant robots, we find out that one of them wasn't piloted by humans, but a kaiju neural core created by the beings that want to invade Earth. And for those of you who don't know, the Voidborn works thanks to the cores that they have. Even if you destroy their bodies, they'll keep moving. Only when their cores are destroyed do the Voidborn die for good. Funny enough, this idea of space exploration with corruption showed up way back on an Alawi skin that almost saw the light of day, back when they did a community vote to see what her next skin should be. One of the options involved Alawi as an astronaut. The name was Deep Space Alawi, and in its presentational lore, it said the following. Infected during a mission in space, Deep Space Alawi and her friend now roam the universe looking to add to their family. It might be something from that idea that's being reused. Now, there's one thing that's cool, but at the same time weird, and it almost ends up being a plot hole. So we know that Galio in this universe is human, but he transferred his consciousness into a giant mech. That means his real body is probably in a coma or a stasis, like the characters in The Matrix when they do that connection method. And for anyone who still isn't convinced or wants to argue, here are some lines from Galio himself.
Do I miss my old squishy, tired body? No, I do not. I can't stop thinking about my wings. How can I not? I can fly. So they put my mind inside a giant mech. Does science rule or what? I love being a giant mech!
However, when some 3D modeling files on PBE were leaked, we didn't see a mini Galio as his pilot. Instead, there was a model of a mini Lux wearing a mech pilot outfit. Zooming in on that concept, where you can see more of a base skeleton of Aegis frame Galio, you can see Lux there in a cockpit at his chest. But that doesn't make sense. He doesn't need a pilot. Galio is the pilot himself. The only plausible explanation would be if Lux hid inside him to go along in the mission, or if she's some kind of operator who provides maintenance assistance. Maybe she was involved in the project and was checking in on the mission's progress. Who knows? But it's cool that they put her with Galio, because all of their history together in the main universe. So much that Galio wakes up easily due to the absurd amount of elemental magic Lux produces. She's literally so strong that she can wake him up by herself, and can keep him active for hours and hours, or even more than that. There was also another moment in the Teamfight Tactics cinematic called Still Legendary, where just touching her palm against Galio, a bit of her magic was absorbed, and that was enough to get him awake and ready to lay the smack down on whoever was bothering his only mage friend. Now, bringing this line to League on PC, or keeping it only exclusive in Wild Rift, it's certain that we will have other Aegis frames, since Galio is the captain of his team.
It's not hard being a leader. Trust your teammates, keep them happy, and steer them away from black holes.
There's just no way to know who they would be. So drop a comment with other champions you think that would fit to make up this team led by Galio. I'd put my money hard on Garen, especially since we already have Lux in this universe. And while you're down there, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and consider becoming a member. You get access to a bunch of cool perks like choosing video topics or watching videos early. Anyways, back to it. And about the Terramechs, man, I would 100% put Nautilus. In the normal lore, he was a huge guy wearing a heavy diving suit who got taken by abyssal darkness that had supernatural power, and in the end it fused with him, turning him into some kind of revenant from the ocean depths. So I believe that in this skin line something similar would happen, in this case a tragic event that corrupts him. I'd also throw Aatrox in there, since he's already completely unhinged because of the trauma from the void, and being sealed inside his weapon. You could easily make him a Terramech that totally snapped and rebelled against everything and everyone, wanting to destroy the Aegis and even the planet he once loved and protected. And no guys, this line does not belong to the same reality as the mecha skins or mecha kingdoms, even though Galio Aegis Frame has voice interactions with both of them.
Can we, exchange serial numbers? You're telling me there's a planet full of giant monsters out there?
But that's as far as it goes, aside from the fact that they share the same theme involving giant robots built to deal with some kind of calamity or colossal threat. First teaser of the new champion and their debut. So up to now, we've had several characters being theorized for release in the Demacian season. The first one was the Rose Knight, ever since last year through leaks. The second was Cythria, although it's only confirmed that she's coming to Teamfight Tactics. And the third possibility would be Tiana Crownguard, since we already have an emote and her heavy involvement in this new minigame, Ascension of Demacia. In the dev update that came out recently, they talk about a bunch of things, except the new champion. But that might have been done on purpose and could be tied to that formula Riot plans to repeat and expand on, involving animated comics. So much so that last year they even ran a survey with players who read and consume lore. It was already revealed by Riot Meddler in the dev update that we're getting 2 new comics, and that they're going to continue the story from the cinematic, at least 2 of them. The first one focuses on Yunara, now finally in Demacia, and it's called Spearhead. From the image, we can see she's still holding the tip of Xin Zhao's spear, with a melancholic look on her face. And to her left, dominating almost the entire background, we have the throne room of Demacia. And we can notice a male figure standing there. I even zoomed in to get a better look, trying to figure out if it was Jarvan IV or Jarvan III or Garen. And honestly, it looks way more like Garen to me, considering he's also going to have a crucial role in the story. There's a pretty high chance it's him. Now on Yunara's right side, taking up part of the background, we have the Silverwings. And it's worth remembering that Zahin, in his ascended form, is based on these birds. This was already officially confirmed. It's funny because in the cinematic beginning of the end, where Xin Zhao is having that vision of Garen and Jarvan IV in darkened forms with Demacia destroyed, we can see several Silverwing feathers, and even one that looks badly injured and apparently dead. It definitely seems like Riot is leaving us a trail of breadcrumbs for the future here. But going back to Yunara's comic in Demacia, it's possible we'll get answers about what happened after Zahin possessed Xin Zhao's body, maybe showing Yunara having a flashback flashback or something like that. We're also going to find out if she came to Demacia through some portal opened by Kennen, since he can do that and even showed it in the comic The Truth, when he sent Xin Zhao and Yunara to the spirit realm, all the way to the temple that had been invaded by Otacon. The other possibility is that she traveled by ship with the officers that were on board together with Xin Zhao. We even see one of them, a sergeant, knocking on the door and telling Xin Zhao that they were already approaching an Ionian port. And besides, they're still alive, and well, as far as we know, since they stayed on that ship after being taken aback by Ionian culture and that whole spiritual blooming event. And finally, I hope to see a better reaction from Jarvan IV than that one in the cinematic, where he stays totally neutral like he didn't give a crap about the guy's death. On top of that, we might see a more plausible explanation for the shadow deer that chased Yunara. The reason in the wiki says that these creatures were drawn to the magical spiritual power contained in the Ion Urna, which are those spheres that Yunara uses as weapons. Although there was a theory that it was because of the tip of Xin Zhao's spear, with people saying it's glowing purple almost in the same shade as when Xin Zhao disintegrated into the petals inside the glaive plane, while trying to convince Zahin. So with that, some people believe Xin Zhao's spirit might be there now, but who knows. On the 21st, we'll find out for sure. Now, the second comic is set to release on February 4th, and it's called For the Fallen. From the cover art, you can see that the protagonist is Garen. From the image on the left corner, you get the idea we'll see him recapping that event with the cadet officers he was training in his fight, since we see Garen leaping down and already cutting through the gathered enemies. So that means we might get different scenes here compared to the cinematic. And by the way, that move of his there references his ability Decisive Strike, which is his Q. We also see Garen mounted on a horse holding an object that probably has some meaning, since we see Garen giving it to a young blonde guy who's crying hard while clutching it, showing that this thing has big sentimental value. We don't know if that object belonged to one of his soldiers who died, or if it's some kind of honor or tribute to those who died serving for Demacia, with Garen being the one to deliver it, since as the senior officer and the commander of those men, that's fully his responsibility. Now about this blonde young guy, no, he's not that little boy that almost got dragged in Nocturne's realm, and he's also not Ezreal. Maybe this is the new champion, maybe even the famous Rose Knight, although this character was leaked with red hair. But looking at the short story Pilgrimage, this blonde could be the sergeant from the ship who traveled with Xin Zhao, and be the brother of a cadet officer who ended up being killed in that cowardly way we saw in the cinematic. I say this because the blonde hair and even the hairstyle seems to match. Big Bad Bear, a reliable guy who does leaks, already said that he believes there's a very good chance this character really is the new champion, but nothing is guaranteed. He also says that soon he'll bring more news that he's receiving about the next champions, but that we'll have to wait because things are a bit confusing since that information is out of order. But he said that right now, all he could do for us was show us an L with an ellipses. From that, there has been a bunch of new conversations about it. There's a crowd saying he meant the surname Laurent, and that the new champion would belong to that family. Others claim it would be a hint at a visual rework for Lux or for Leona. I think we're already gonna get a glimpse of this new champion in the second comic, whether he's the blonde morning guy or someone who's going to show up later in the comic. And as more stuff comes out, I'll bring it here so we can try to understand it better. And that's basically it. I'll see you guys in the next video.